Solidarity forever. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Ahmed Tinubu, ably represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. The Minister of Labor, other ministers ably represented, the Senate President ably represented, the Speaker ably represented. Comrades and gentlemen, good afternoon. I will stand on already established protocols to move ahead with this speech. Comrades and brothers and sisters from every walk of life, and all friends and well-wishers of workers across our great nation, once again, we gather under a powerful banner of May Day, a day that never comes empty, a day that carries with it the weight of history, the pride of struggle, and the memory of sacrifices that made our presence here possible. Each year, this moment reminds us not only of how far we have come, but of the battles fought and the price paid for generations of workers. This year's celebration is a milestone, a reaffirmation of our collective strength, and a renewed opportunity, especially as we approach 2027 general election, to boldly envision a new deal for Nigerian workers and to recommit ourselves to building a stronger, fairer, and more just nation. There is a fundamental truth that must never be forgotten. Workforce remains at the very heart of every industry, every economy, every success. Without workers, no wheel can turn. Without workers, no nation can be built. Today, we celebrate the men and women who rise before dawn and return home at dusk, exhausted yet unbroken. Those who create immense wealth, yet only a fraction. Those who endure exploitation and subjugation, yet refuse to bend. Those whose labor feeds the profits of multinational corporations, but who see little of that prosperity reflected in their own lives. That is who we are, and that is why we stand here today, not in defeat, but in collaboration of our resilience. We honor the carpenters, the woodworkers, the plumbers, the fitters, the welders, and all workers who flowed across the fields, seas, skies. This day is your day, and this nation stands on the strength of your labor. Yet, even as we celebrate, we must confront a critical question: does the state truly understand the workers in the central driver as the central driver of development? What is the nature of relationship between government and those who create the nation's wealth? Is it through this engagement, through sincerity, trust, and fidelity that leadership reveals its true intents? This year's theme, insecurity, poverty, burden of decent work, speaks directly to the harsh realities confronting the workers. The 4 pillars of decent work: employment creation, rights at work, social protection, and social dialogue, cannot thrive in an environment defined of fear and deprivation. Comrades, even the global framework of Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, recognizes the centrality of decent work through Goal 8. Any force that undermines decent work also undermines national development. Mr. President, we recall our wars when soldiers were killed in Shiroro, and you described it rightly as attack on the nation. We remember your firm assurance after Angwaruku massacre that such tragedy will not be repeated. Yet today, Nigerians continue to lose their lives across Kwara, Borno, Katsina, Niger, Plateau, Nasarawa, and Benue states as communities are ravaged, families displaced, and the countless citizens left to live in fear. There can be no meaningful progress under such conditions because security is a foundation upon which every other sector, education, healthcare, agriculture, manufacturing, transportation, and broader economy depends. When governance frameworks are weakened and democratic institutions are compromised, the consequences are far-reaching. The erosion of the separation of powers, the blurring of boundaries between the arms of government, and the weakening of the rule of law all contribute to a system that struggles to deliver to its people. While these institutional challenges persist, the burden continues to fall heavily on the ordinary Nigerians. Current data shows that approximately 10,000 people are pushed into poverty every day in the country. Millions struggle to access food, basic necessities, while internally displaced persons camps now numbering in thousands house millions of citizens who have been forced from their homes. Comrades, state of the movement. Even in the face of immense pressure, our movement remains strong, resilient, and forward-looking. We have not only endured, we have rebounded, rebuilding our structures, reconnecting our networks, both locally and internationally, and confronting internal contradictions through continuous self-reinvention. We are shielding old borders, and repositioning ourselves as we meet complex challenges. Yes, serious challenges persist as global competition for resources intensifies. Capital has grown more aggressive, deploying every means to weaken labor. Across sectors, we continue to witness attacks on the fundamental rights to organize, to associate freely, and to bargain collectively, with violations carried out with alarming impunity. In several states, governments have refused to fully implement the provisions of the 2024 National Minimum Wage Act. Just today, where the representative of the governor, the minister of FCT was presenting as the speech, she was saying we should clap for government for paying us arrears. The question is, why are they owing arrears? Why won't you pay salary as at when dues? We will not clap for any government that is owing arrears. Comrades, we are equally troubled by direct interferences in union structures and continued occupation of union secretaries, attempts at imposing parallel leaderships, and disregard to court rulings affirming legitimate authorities. But history has taught us that our strength lies in how we respond. In the coming period, the movement will intensify its engagement with employers, both public and private, to ensure that the rights and dignity of Nigerian workers are defended and advanced. We will stand firmly with every worker, whether in the formal or informal economy, and we will not hesitate to expose and confront those who consistently violate workers' rights through sustained campaign of accountability. Minimum wage, which expires early next year, will commence by July. The negotiation will commence by July 2027. To avoid the painful delays of the past, we call on all workers to unite, demanding a truly living wage that reflects that harsh economic realities we face today. In addition, they demand that from July of this year, every worker be paid a certain percentage, if not up to 100% of his basic, until a new national minimum wage is signed into law to cushion the effects of the renewed crisis of survival facing Nigerian workers. Now, more than ever, Nigerian workers must stand together. Our unity is our greatest weapon, our solidarity our strongest shield. The change we seek is possible, but it will not come from elsewhere. It must come from us through our collective will and action. State of the nation. Comrades, no nation can make meaningful progress without deliberate commitment to the unity that transcends ethnic, religious, and political divides. Yet, what we increasingly witness is the erosion of this ideal as a patriotism reduced to mere rhetoric, deployed not as guiding principles, but as convenient tool to manipulate and dispossess the very people in whose name we invoke. We therefore strongly condemn all forms of intimidation and the use of violence as instruments of political or social control. A nation as diverse as ours must be anchored on dialogue, mutual respect, and the freedom for all citizens to live, work, and express themselves without fear. Accordingly, the voices of opposition must not only be tolerated but actively protected, for they are essential to the health of true democracy. We must also confront the troubling reality that a significant number of those who hold public office appear disconnected from the lived experience of the people. They do not believe in Nigeria, that Nigerians are poor and suffering. This disconnect manifests in politics that fail to address the real needs and the governance culture that prioritizes personal comfort over national development. State of the economy. Comrades, we hold firmly to a simple principle: the economy must serve the people, or it has failed in its most basic purpose. An economy is only meaningful when it improves lives, when it guarantees dignity, provides access to basic needs, and offers hope that tomorrow will not be defined by deeper hardship. The true measure of economic performance is not in abstract figures, but in the lived realities of the people. By that measure, the state of our economy remains deeply troubling. It is not getting better. It is getting worse. Effective economic management demands a careful balance between monetary and fiscal policies, anchored on discipline and fairness. It cannot be a situation where citizens are asked to tighten their belts while public officers indulge in excess extravagance. Such contradictions undermine trust and expose deeper problems that the benefits of economic policy are increasingly concentrated in the hands of a few, while inequality continues to widen. Perhaps the economy is working for the ultra few 1% and not the 99 majority. Macroeconomic stability cannot be reduced to inflation rates, exchange rates, or capital inflows alone. True stability is reflected in secure jobs, rising wages, thriving local industries, and government capable of providing essential services. Unfortunately, many recent policies have achieved narrow technical targets at the expense of the Nigerian worker, the domestic producer, and the long-term development of the nation. What is urgently required is a shift toward production-driven economic strategy, one that prioritizes domestic industry, supports agriculture, and provides affordable credit to small and medium enterprises. Investor confidence must be refined, not as speculative financial inflows, but as the confidence of Nigerian farmer, manufacturer, trader, and ordinary citizen who depends on stability, security, and opportunity to survive and thrive. Instead, we have witnessed a declining confidence in the real economy, driven by high interest rates, exchange rate instability, and policy choices that favor external capital over local production. The result is an economy that appears to improve on paper, but struggles in practice, where factories are not being built, jobs are not being created, and the majority continue to bear the weight of adjustment. An economy that serves only the top 1%, while the 99% behind cannot be sustainable. We must redirect our economic strategy towards job creation, productive capacity, and inclusive growth. This requires deliberate public investment in infrastructure, housing, energy, supported by fiscal discipline and fair taxation system that ensures those with greatest capacity contribute their fair share, especially at a time when national debt has risen to about 200 trillion, a level that demands caution and responsibility. Ultimately, economic governance must lead to just and equitable society where every Nigerian can live with dignity. Sadly, the trajectory of recent years suggests we are moving further away from the goal as hunger deepens and hardship spreads. This economy is clearly not working for workers, neither for the masses. It is time for a decisive shift in direction, one that places the Nigerian people, not abstract market ideologies, at the center of the policy. Insecurity. Comrades, we must confront an uncomfortable truth with honesty and urgency that our country is at war. Even if we have refused to call it by its name, the scale of violence and frequency of attacks and the mounting losses of lives and communities place Nigeria under most dangerous places to work and live. It is estimated that nearly 2,000 people have lost their lives in the first quarters of this year alone. These are not just numbers. They are workers, farmers, teachers, health professionals, artisans, citizens whose only crime was trying to live and work in their country. Across the nation, people are no longer safe in their homes, on the roads, even in their workplaces. Daily life has become a gamble with fate. The consequences are visible everywhere. Millions have been displaced, with about 4 million Nigerians or more now living in internally displaced persons camps, while entire communities have been overrun and abandoned. Insecurity has reached such alarming levels that even public officials are unable to safely return to their constituencies, and concerns are being raised internationally about safety within our boundaries. Yet the national response often appears measured. This situation has created a profound crisis for Nigerian workers. Livelihoods are being destroyed. Mobility has become dangerous, and the simple act of traveling now inspires fear rather than confidence. A nation cannot function and an economy cannot grow when its people are under constant threat. It is truly absurd to talk about economic growth without resolving security challenges. It is therefore time for a decisive shift, one that recognizes the gravity of the situation and responds with the full weight of national resolve. Nigeria deserves clarity, accountability, and action. Questions around critical security decisions must be answered, and those responsible must be held to account. The safety of workers is non-negotiable. If this situation persists unchecked, it will inevitably affect productivity, mobility, and national life itself. And we may be forced to, as workers, ask our members to stay at home for their own safety. The time to act is now. I hand over to